Yes, I absolutely agree. So what defines Suket Dhir? Suket Dhir the brand also, and Suket Dhir as you also.
I think there's a certain amount of playfulness.
Okay.
A certain amount of playfulness, realness, timelessness. I can actually sort of say whenever I'm designing my products, or whenever I'm actually thinking about even living my life or leading my life, I do it mostly without thinking much.
Okay.
So it's very instinctive, organic, something that I'm feeling at that very moment. I'd like to believe that I'm a person of the moment. I'm a very spontaneous, organic person. Similarly, I think my aesthetic is also just like that. My aesthetic is certainly not very surgical, clinical. There's a certain amount of organicness to it.
So tell us a little about your journey, your fashion journey. That moment you felt, okay, this is my calling. This is what I want to do.
But there certainly was a moment.
Okay.
But that moment came after a long process of doing and eliminating.
Okay.
I did a few things before I got into design.
All right.
So I come from a business family. So like everybody else, I finished my 12th not with very flying colors. Again, because we were a business family, so it was kind of taken for granted that I'll do BCom, and so I went for BCom, and then I think probably a year down the line I kind of realized that I'm clearly not cut out for that because I can't bother to even study for the exam.
Okay.
So I stopped doing it after a year. My dad gave up. He wanted to discipline me, and how much it worked or didn't work, I don't know, but pocket money rok di. Pocket money at that age, like at the age of 20, is very, very important. You can't really live without that. That's a time you enjoy the most. That's a time when you sort of have to hang out with your friends, enjoy your life and all of that.
Yeah.
So, and that's when I joined the call center. And so I worked at a call center for a whole year, almost a year, and I used the money that I made while working at the call center to travel a little bit and chill for a while. And I was making good money at that time, probably more than the other professionals who were graduating at that time. And by this time I was also sort of in a contemplating mood when one of those moments, talking to a friend, I finally figured out I probably should apply for a design course at NIFT.
Okay.
And I decided to go to NIFT in 2002. I scored well enough to be in the top 30 seats for NIFT Delhi.
Right.
So I managed that. Probably the first time in my life I was actually sort of in the company of people who could manage a seat anywhere in the top, like manage a seat first of all, anywhere, and that too when I got a rank. That was like a big reality check. Finally, I found that I might be good at something. I didn't even know what that something was, but I knew that I must be good at something.
Right.
That I managed this.
Right, and this is what I should now go ahead with.
Yes.
So which year did you start your label then?
I started my label in 2011. I started sampling in 2010. We launched the label in 2011. Yeah. Okay, I have to dial back a little bit. I got into design school. I graduated in 2005. I got campus placements and I got to work with a denim company in Bangalore for 3 years.
Okay.
I managed the entire portfolio of that brand for 3 whole years. It was a brand being launched in India specifically for mass retail.
Okay.
And after that, I went to in fact, after the brand was successfully launched, the product hit the market and it had started doing well, is when I had actually bumped into someone at a barista when I said, hey, the t-shirt that you're wearing is designed by me.
Wow.
And that guy said, no, it's by this brand. And I, at that very moment, I knew that I want a little more recognition for what I do.
Right.
The credit can't go to anybody else. I want the credit myself. So that's when I quit. I came back to Delhi. So it was after that is when I started sampling out of a tiny little 10 by 12 room with 2 machines, 1 cutting table where I used to cut myself. We worked out of that room for about a year, and after a year we had a presentation with Good Earth, and that's where we launched our brand. The founder of Good Earth, Mrs. Anita Lal, she's my mentor, my patron. So she's had a lot of faith and belief in me and what I do, and that's been a huge source of I say assurance to you know, just when someone with that kind of knowledge has faith in you, it just kind of cements your own faith in yourself, right?
Now, there must have been a lot of thought process, a lot of investment in terms of both finance and, you know, the whole thinking that no, this I don't want to do there and this I want to showcase over there, right? How was that journey? That time when you were creating stuff for Woolmark?
Instinctively, again, I second guess myself a lot, and that's what I need a little bit of, or used to second guess myself a lot. So at that time, Woolmark competition was something that just happened, like out of the blue. It just sort of, I got an invite.
Okay.
And a year before I got the invite, I was at another friend's place who was sending his application an entry for Woolmark.
Okay.
And I went and asked him ki kya kar raha hai. He's like, well, I'm sending my application for Woolmark. And I very innocently asked him ki ye kya hota hai.
Okay.
And he told me how big a deal it is, and ye hota hai, ye hota hai, ye hota hai. And I very sort of casually उस time I said, यार ये तो मेरे को भी जीतना है. So, and he told me, यार ये ऐसे थोड़ी ना हो जाता है, invite आता है, ऐसा होता है. And he was absolutely right कि ये तो ऐसे नहीं हो जाता है. But I was as innocent about it at that time, and we laugh about it now. And then about a year later, I got an email saying that, well, we'd like to invite you to send in an entry for menswear.
Yeah.
And I read it and I was like, यार मैं तो सिर्फ शर्टिंग बनाता हूँ. I mean, ये तो fashion designers के लिए होता है. In my mind, I was sort of just sticking to basic, beautiful products and just sticking to a very simple, fun, playful, nazakat bhara aesthetic. So it was strange that I, even despite saying that a year back, and I forgot about it. Like that's why I said that मेरे को तो अभी उसने याद कराया. I didn't even remember the conversation that I had with him, but I knew that Woolmark is a big deal.
Okay.
That I knew.
Okay.
And that's also the reason why I second guess myself that it's so big deal that I'm not even meant for it.
Okay.
So I ignored the email, and I think about 10 days before the final submission, I spoke with my mentor, who I told you that I'm still in touch with. So I was meeting her at the NGMA, and I told her, well, ma'am, एक ना email आई हुई है, inbox में पड़ी हुई है. And she like, कहाँ से? मैंने कहा कोई वो Woolmark वाला वो होता नहीं है, वो जो competition होता है. So I was thinking कि भेजूं कि ना भेजूं, and she was almost pissed off. She was angry, and she was like, how dare you? You have to send it and you have to win it. So that was her reaction. I was like, and I was like, sure, I mean, ठीक है, but you know, I can make the products, but ये entry भेजना ये तो you'll have to help me, because I'm not an academic, how to sort of write and what is a concept note and all that. I'll need a lot of hand holding with that. She said, sure, come over, let's do it. मैंने कहा when? She said now. So from NGMA we went straight to her place, and I made my entry. I wrote my concept note, and another friend of hers, also another one of my faculty, she was also there. So it was like 3 of us, we sat down, and they asked me, what are you thinking? And I pulled out my diary. So I had like a whole 6 pages full of ideas. But वो 6 पेज थे, and इतना बड़ा concept note नहीं हो सकता है. We had to do a concept note in less than 200 words. So we wrote a 150 word crisp concept note, and next 6 days I spent on doing my illustration, and I sent it and I forgot about it. Yeah, and I got a call sometime early January
Okay.
that I should start preparing,
Wow.
as I am one of the shortlisted people from the country.
Okay.
But I am not finalized yet, but I'm in the shortlist, so should be prepared. And then I had to actually start raising money and start doing all of that. You need money to do all of
Right.
this. And incidentally, about 6 months before this, I was sitting with my dad and contemplating, should I even continue brand Suket Dhir, or I should
Oh, okay.
quit and start looking for a job. And my dad was like, well, we'll wait till December,
Okay.
and if nothing figures out, then you start looking for a job. And I think October was sometime when I had received this application, and October was also the first time I got featured in one of the best menswear magazines, fashion magazines in the country. It was GQ's top 5 list of menswear designers to look out for,
Right.
the young new guns. And I made in that list, top of that list. And that's when Dad said, well, we'll wait till March now. So let's see what an article in
Right.
GQ does. Apparently, there are people who are taking notice of what you're doing. So we deferred the plans for 3 months, but it was still on the cards whether we'll continue or not.
Right.
And I think it was also beginning of Jan, on the same day when I sort of got to know that I might be on the short list. I also got to know that I've been shortlisted to launch the new linen fabrics collection by Raymond.
Wow.
And the phone call I got, I thought that I might be one of the people who were being considered, but it turned out that I was the only person being considered to launch that collection. I was already shortlisted. I just had to name them a price, and we figured out, we did our costings and all those. I gave them a price and they said fine, and we did a big
Right.
75 ensembles for them.
Wow.
But it was sort of, I just got 25 days to make that collection. It was more than 200 garments that I had to make, and I had a team of only 7 tailors and
Okay.
20 days to do it.
Hi, go.
And I had to deliver the collection 7 days before the event because they wanted to shoot the collection as well.
Right.
So it was like one of those projects that against all odds I managed to complete. Like, I don't know how, but it was miraculous. It happened.
Right.
And the money that I got for that collection is what I ended up using to make my Woolmark collection.
Wow.
So had I not gotten it, so it's like how one thing leads to another.
Right. It's like a weaving thing. It's just happening.
Absolutely.
So when you say the Woolmark Award, how do you see Suket Dhir before the Woolmark Award and after the Woolmark Award in terms of not just as personal growth but also as market acceptance?
Okay, so market acceptance is again something that now, because that nationally 100%, I don't have to introduce our brand to anybody anymore.
Right.
And internationally, I don't need to sort of prove my
Skills and talent.
aesthetic worth anymore.
Okay.
I also realized that I won the Woolmark because of a massive team in place at that time. That team appeared at the time of Woolmark. Like, I had a friend who's one of the best illustrators in the country. He's now in the US. His name is Jot. He helped me do the mood board and illustrations. I called him on board. I said, well, I have a vision and a dream and I need your help and your skill set to do this. After winning the Woolmark, I realized I need a bigger team. I need people who can actually manage the productions, because once I won the Woolmark, I realized that I did not have anybody to help me with the productions of the products that I made. And that was the biggest learning after winning. Number one was self-belief. I knew that when it comes to my aesthetic, we are not less than anyone in the world.
Right.
Earlier, dreams were always with doubt. Paris Fashion Week, maybe. Now, it's just about me deciding whether I want to do it or not. So yeah, it was big boost to confidence, and it was amazingly gratifying when it comes to acceptance. And the recognition this one gave me back home
Right.
was also pretty shocking, surprising. and not shocking at the same time, if you know what I mean.
Yes. So what's your view on the Indian fashion market? In the global market, where do you think the Indian fashion lies? What is its position?
In terms of size, we are tiny, but in terms of quality, we are way up there. In terms of exposure, again, we're hardly exposed.
Okay.
Textiles are getting exported and being used by the best brands on the planet. Whereas, sadly, we have not begun the journey of being one of those best brands on the planet when it comes to globally. There's a massive churn when it comes to even the surface. You'll actually realize all these young designers coming up with new ideas.
Right.
The focus is moving further and further away from just wedding wear. Even though that's a massive market, you can't really sort of ignore it. You have to be very, very lucky to ignore that side of fashion and survive. I was one of those very lucky people who did not focus on wedding wear and still managed to. I am actually using the word survive and thrive also is because when it comes to men's fashion, I'm quintessentially a menswear designer. For the last 8 years, I only cater to menswear, and even in menswear there was no formal and there was no wedding wear.
Okay.
So basically I was doing the last category men go to for designer. Men will go to a designer either for wedding wear or occasions. They'll think of going to a designer if there's a wedding or an occasion.
Right.
Number two, if there's something super formal and they want a suit and all those things, they'll think of maybe a Tom Ford or Giorgio Armani or something.
Right.
That's when they think of a designer. Otherwise, they're happy with anything. They can actually sort of manage with whatever they have in their wardrobe, and they just sort of chalte firte kaise kuch uta liya. I mean, so it's the last category. Daily wear, luxury is something. That's the last thing men think of going to a designer for, and that's the category I decided to work with. But that's something that I instinctively related to. That's something that I do myself. Whenever I go for a wedding, I don't want to change. I mean, I can actually go to a wedding wearing a bomber jacket. A lot of people think that blasphemous. I'll probably change my shoes. I don't know. I will not probably. I will change my shoes. I'll wear the leather ones, but then wear my bomber jacket and go like this to a wedding. But then people say, then you're a designer, you can get away with anything. What do we do? And then we say, well, we can do a bandala, we can do a blazer, we can do all of those sort of things. And I've only sort of stuck to only one thing, which is I'll make what I can wear myself.
Right. So for you, it's always been very personal, very, I'd say very sacred.
Sacred, self-obsessed. I mean, kuch bhi bol lo. I mean, it's something lazy, something very easy. So I never have to bother with putting myself in someone else's shoes and imagining. Utni mehnat karni nahi padti. All you have to actually do is, mujhe pasand hai, haan, banao. So it's just that, it's that easy. It's really, really that easy.
So this is really interesting, and I'm sure we have loads to talk. So is it okay if we continue this in the next session? One-worders.
Yeah, I am very bad with one-worders. As soon as you think of one word, I overthink.
Right.
Which is that perfect word?
A superpower you'd want?
Teleport.
Not to bother matching the color, किसी भी color से कर दो. And once she did it, it looked nice, and I told my master सारे बटना regular करता कैसे लगा दिया.
Hat that I wear, I have a whole set of hair. I'm not bald or anything. Luckily, I have a full mane. These times.
These times.